friends, welcome to Grit and Growth Business Live. And listen, this isn't just another Tuesday night, and this isn't just another episode. This is the moment we reset, we refocus, and decide what kind of leaders we want to be in 2026. Because here's what I know. Small business owners don't need another resolution. I hate resolutions. What they really need is clarity. They need margin, and they need a plan that's actually going to work this time. And that's what this show is all about. Grit and Growth Business Live is the weekly gathering where real stories meet real grit so you can build real growth. And if you're watching live, thank you for joining me tonight. If you're catching the replay, welcome home. Tonight we're stepping into something powerful. But before we dive in, let me remind you, every week when we do the show, and I'm going to talk about the show, we're going to make some changes to it coming up in a couple weeks. We'll talk about it at the end. But every week we've got action sheets. Today we're going to have something called a CEO Day template. Hey, this is something you don't want to miss. We talk about weekly community discussions, and they're all waiting for you at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/CEO Day. That's CEODAY. That's where you get the tools that turn tonight's ideas into next week's wins. Okay, well, let's jump in. We're going to end the year strong. We're leading on purpose. And tonight, I'm going to show you why you absolutely need a CEO Day in your weekly rhythm. Let me start with a bold statement. This could be the episode that changes the trajectory of your entire year. Because here's the truth, no one tells small business owners. If you don't carve out time to think, your business will force you to react. I know so many small business people, they spend their whole lives, I hear this all the time. I spend my whole lives, Ralph, putting out fires. Well, what are you doing? You're reacting. And that reaction is the fastest path to burnout. And right now, if you're feeling behind, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're exhausted before the year even gets rolling, if you ended up last month feeling like you're always playing catch up, well, guess what? Tonight's for you. Because tonight we're talking about the one habit, that one rhythm, that one weekly commitment that separates struggling owners from scaling leaders. And that's called the CEO Day. So here's what we're going to unpack tonight. Why most business owners stay stuck in reaction mode. I'm going to dig into that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how a weekly CEO Day instantly reduces chaos. We're also going to talk about what should happen during your CEO Day. Hey, it's one thing to plan it. It's another thing to know what to do about it. We're going to talk about how it can transform your business, transform your energy, and actually bring you more confidence. And then we're going to tell you how to build this into your schedule without guilt. Plus, as normal, we've got a bunch of questions that come from our people listening tonight, from our community. Here's just a preview of some of those questions. Here's a question we got. How do I plan a CEO Day when I'm already drowning? I got the answer for you tonight. What if I feel guilty stepping away from the day-to-day? I've got the answer for that one too. Here's another great question we got. What do I do during a CEO Day? I've got the receipts to tell you how to do it. We're going to talk about how do I keep my team moving while I'm planning, and we're going to round it out with how do I make sure I'm not just staring at a blank notebook paper. Hey, nobody wants to do that. And of course, we're going to start with our pressing issue of the week. Why 2026 is going to expose the owners who don't plan and reward the ones who do. So if you ever felt like your business is running you instead of the other way around, stick with me because tonight we're going to take back control. Well, let's get right to our pressing issue of the week. Why 2026 is going to reward owners who think, not just grind. Hey, it's one thing to grind. It's another thing to think. Let's start with the big picture. We're entering a year where markets are going to shift. That's one certainty. Labor is going to shift. Customer expectations are going to shift as well. And like normal, technology is going to shift. But what you don't know, what won't shift is on its own is your leadership. Leadership, you have to direct it. You've got to shape it. You got to protect it. And see, here's the problem. Most small business owners make the same mistake every January. I hear this from all of the people making it. They set goals, right? Oh, I'm going to do this year. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put these resolutions together. But they never build thinking time into their week. They don't have time to go back and think about it. They're doers. They're reactors. And the problem is by February, the goals are gone. And all of a sudden, urgency takes over, and the owner is right back in the weeds, like literally sometimes. A business that grows without intentional leadership is a business that grows out of control. I'm going to say that again because you've got to hear that. A business that grows without intentional leadership is a business that grows out of control. which leads me to 3 truths that every owner must know to win in 2026. Are you ready for these truths? This is going to set you apart. If you know these truths, you're going to be a winner. Number one thing, if you don't schedule clarity, chaos is going to fill the space. It's really that simple. You've got to schedule clarity, because if you don't, chaos is going to fill that space. Your business will expand to fill every available minute of your week. Things like emails, those staff questions that seem to be never ending, the customer needs, those unexpected fires we talked about. Well, if you don't protect your time to think, you're always going to be reacting to the loudest thing. You know what they say all the time? He that shouts the loudest gets the results. And if you're doing that, you're not focusing on the most important thing. Here's truth number 2. A CEO day is the cure for decision fatigue. Let's be honest. Most owners are tired, not because they're weak. Most of you are pretty strong, but because they're making too many small decisions every day. They're doing it all. Well, the CEO day consolidates your decisions into one window. That's where you do your financial review. You do your weekly planning, your team alignment, your strategic direction, your project prioritization, and your bottleneck renewal. Because let me tell you a secret right now. Most of the time, the bottlenecks are you. You're the problem. Instead of making 1,000 micro decisions, you make focused, high-quality leadership decisions once a week. That's why the CEO day instantly lowers your stress. And here's truth number 3. Growth requires focus, and focus requires space. Because here's the truth. You can't build a better hiring system. You can't improve your marketing. You can't fix your pricing. You can't strengthen your finances and expand capacity while you're drowning in the daily tasks. You can't do it. Your next level is never going to come from grinding harder. It will come from thinking deeper. And a CEO day gives you the space to elevate your thinking so your business can elevate its results. Let me ask you this question right here from the jump. Does any of this sound like what you're facing right now? Think about it for a second. This is what you feel. You feel like you're always reacting. You're always putting out fires. You don't have time to plan. Well, if so, I'm going to tell you right now, tonight is your turning point. Let's get to our first question from number 1 question here. Let me switch the screen so you can see the question. This is from Melissa in Dayton, Ohio. And Melissa writes this: Ralph, I love the idea of a CEO day, but honestly, I'm drowning. How do I plan a CEO day when I can barely keep up as it is? And listen, Melissa, this is the question that almost everyone I coach tells me the same thing. I love this idea, Ralph, but I'm already drowning. Where am I going to find this time? How can I make this work? Because Melissa, right now you're feeling overwhelmed. My guess is you're behind on your tasks. You're behind on those goals that you set, and you probably even feel a little guilty considering stepping away at all, because you think you need to finish everything first. But let me tell you something. Right now, Melissa, finishing everything is impossible. You're just going to get burned out. So I got a path for you, Melissa. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to ease into this. I want you to start with a half CEO day. We're just going to take 2 hours. We're going to protect that time. We're going to make it non-negotiable, because you don't earn the time, you claim it. You got to claim this. So start with a half CEO day, just 2 hours. You can find that. Here's another thing I'm going to recommend you do. Use the rule of 1. In your first CEO session, I want you to just choose one improvement that will reduce stress next week. I don't want you to go find all of them. I just want you to laser focus on just one improvement. Because if you start with that one improvement, then you move to the second and the third. The problem is a lot of people jump into this and they say, oh, Ralph, this is a great idea. I'm going to do the CEO day. I'm going to spend 8 hours and I'm going to fix everything. It's never going to work. You got to ease into this. Melissa, here's another thing I want you to do. Identify one thing to stop doing. See, it's one thing to say, I'm going to start doing something, but I think a better plan is to identify one thing to stop doing. See, because most owners need to subtract before they add. It's so easy to add more stuff. It's like, then we get this big old suitcase or this briefcase full of stuff, and we're just dragging more stuff along. Here's another great idea, and this works for me. One of the things that I recommend you do, Melissa, is move planning earlier in the day. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm the freshest when I first start in the morning. So if I'm doing a CEO day, I'm doing that first thing in the morning before any distractions. Hey, I would even venture to say, come in before your staff gets there. Do it at a time where you're not got the phone ringing. People aren't knocking at your door. You don't have customers coming in. Yeah, you might need to change your schedule around a little bit to do it. I have done this for years and it is super effective because then you can create clarity before the chaos even starts. And Melissa, I'm gonna give you one more tip. Go get our action sheet today because I've got some great ideas on that. You can get that at gritandgrowthbusiness.com/CEO day so you're not staring at that blank page. So let me ask you, have you ever felt like you're drowning before the year even begins? So many people tell me, Ralph, I feel like I'm already drowning. Well, excellent. Melissa, I hope that helps you. It's a good start to get you rolling. Let's move to our second question. And this one comes to us from James in Asheville, North Carolina. What a beautiful part of the country. And James writes this. He says, Ralph, I feel guilty stepping away. What if my team needs me? What if my customers get frustrated? I hear that, James. This is another one I hear all the time. Because, James, you're carrying this emotional weight. You have this belief that you've got to constantly be available, and that makes you a better leader. I'm going to tell you something right now, James. It doesn't make you a better leader. It makes you a tired leader. Because deep down, that's what you are. You're tired. And James, if I had to guess, you're actually a little resentful of your business. I say this on the show all the time. So many small business people either love their business or they grow to resent it, which leads to hating your business. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do, James. That guilt is a sign of unclear expectations. You just don't have expectations for yourself. It's not selfishness. And I got a feeling that your team doesn't understand what's going on. See, when your team knows that you have a CEO day, they'll adjust around it. They'll figure it out. You just got to put it out there and say, listen, on this day, this is my CEO time. Now, that means you're going to do some other things. Here's another thing I'm going to recommend you do. Set CEO day office hours. Choose a window where you can be reached only for emergencies. Now, you've got to define what an emergency looks like for in your business, but pick that. Here's another great idea. If you really want to get away, create a when to interrupt the CEO list. Because a lot of people think this is an emergency, and you might say, dude, that's not really an emergency. List out what those emergencies are. Ask yourself this question, what truly requires me right now? And then list those things out for your team. Here's the things that I absolutely have to do. I need to hear if this happens, if the building's burning down, interrupt my CEO day. But if somebody's calling with a complaint, that doesn't need to be handled right then. Here's another thing you've got to do. You've got to communicate the why to your team. Your CEO day helps everyone succeed, including your customers. So if you feel like your staff is not going to understand that, if you feel like your customers aren't going to understand that, you've got to educate them and communicate why this is so important. It's another great idea, James. Document your decisions weekly. You can share a simple leadership update with your team. Say, hey, during the CEO day, this is what I did. Here's the things I thought about. Here's the ideas I've come up. You want to get their buy-in, but if you do that, it builds trust and it builds that relationship. Then all of a sudden they go, oh, I like CEO day. James takes some times and great things happen here in the business. But document what those things are. Explain to them what you're talking about during that CEO day. So let me ask you, have you ever felt guilty taking time to lead instead of react? I've heard people say it. You know what? Oh, he's always in his office on Mondays. He's unreachable. That's a good thing because you need to take time to invest in your business. Because I was talking to a client this past week. We're doing some coaching. And I said to him, I said, Guy, if you don't ever get out of that mode of out there in the field doing the work, you're never going to grow your business because you're the biggest bottleneck to that. Don't ever feel guilty taking time to lead. You're building a business for your customers. You're building a business for your staff. And hey, you're building a business for yourself. Well, let's move on to question 3. This one comes to us from Carla in Phoenix, Arizona. And this is what Carla said. She said, okay, Ralph, everybody keeps saying I need this CEO day, but what do I actually do on one? What happens that day besides staring at my laptop and feeling overwhelmed? Carla, that's a great question. And what I hear you saying kind of between the lines is you're one of those folks that needs structure. I get it. I need structure too. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to just go sit in a room and just ponder, right? You want to know, what am I doing? You want a repeatable rhythm that builds confidence week after week. And Carla, I get it and I respect that because you're a person that's no nonsense. You want to get stuff done. So you want, Ralph, I want a list of what I need to do. Well, ready? Here's the exact flow that I want you to do. Ready to write this down? Don't worry about writing it down. We're going to put it in the show notes and you're going to be able to download that. I've talked at the beginning. We'll talk about it here in a second again. But here's what I want you to do. Number one thing, review your money. So during your CEO day, number one thing, review your money. Look at your cash flow. Look at your expenses. Look at your customer pipeline and ask yourself what needs attention this week. See, that's what you're planning. You're planning, oh, maybe cash is light and you got payroll coming on Friday. Or maybe you're noticing some expenses are starting to come up. Or maybe that pipeline is getting a little weak. That's when you review that money and you figure out what needs your attention. That's the first thing. Second thing I'm going to encourage you to do is review your priorities. Every week, when you do that CEO day, write down what are the 3 most important outcomes this week. You notice I said outcomes. See, a lot of people get stuck on, well, I'm going to write all these tasks down. I don't care about tasks. What I care about is what are the outcomes? What are the results? Write down what are the 3 most important outcomes, results, whatever you want to call it for this week. That's what you need to be laser focused on. Number 3, review your people. You got to be the coach here. You got to try to figure out who needs clarity in your organization, who needs feedback, who needs direction. You got to be the coach. You got to start figuring out, okay, this one needs help with this. I'm trying to develop some delegation over here. I'm trying to build this person in to be in whatever you want to be. Well, this is what you do during your CEO day. You take that thing, okay, we got a game plan ahead. What's going to happen this week? Number 4 thing, this is a great time to review your systems. Look at what broke last week. Look what slowed you down. Look what needs improving. Go back and look at your calendar and say, oh man, I just realized I spent 3 hours dealing with this or dealing with that. That's when you review your system and say, I wonder if there's a better way to do this. Look at what slowed you down, what took up too much time, what needs some improving. It's a great time to go and look at some customer reviews or some customer feedback that you got and say, here's the things I can do. Number 5 thing, go back and review your growth plan. What does your marketing plan look like? Where are you at with that? How's it coming along? What's your sales plan? What's the sales look like? What are your hiring plans? Think about what moves your business forward because remember, we're not putting out fires. We're not reacting. We're figuring out what moves our business forward. And number 6, this one is the most important of all of them. Review your energy. Because most of the time, what wears people down is they run out of energy. Ask yourself, where did you feel drained? What during the week made you feel, oh man, I can't even do anymore, Ralph. I came in Tuesday and from the minute I walked in, this happened and that happened and this call and this complaint and this employee, all the drama. Those things are draining you. So put those on paper. Here's what drained me. But at the very same time, figure out what's energizing you. What made you feel great? What made, oh, I love this business again. What makes you love that business? Write those things down. Because then what you're going to do as you write those down, you're going to start thinking about, oh, you know what? If I start doing these, my business is going to grow. I'm going to feel energized. So those are the things I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over them with you one more time. Review your money, review your priorities, review your people, review your systems, review that growth plan, and review your energy. How about you? What's a weekly checklist to help you stay focused? See, if we have a plan going into the CEO day, we got that checklist, and we're going to share that with you today. You'll know exactly what you need to do to be successful in that. So thank you so much for sharing that question. Well, let's move on to our 4th question. This one comes to us from Brad in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Brad says this, how do I keep my team moving while I'm in my CEO day mode? Ah, Brad, I love it because here's what Brad's afraid of. Brad's afraid that everything stops without him. Brad thinks when he's out, nobody's doing anything. What do they say? When the cat's away, the mice will play. That's what Brad thinks. And let me tell you something right now, Brad, that usually points to a deeper issue. That usually points to a business built around the owner instead of around systems, if I'm going to be honest with you. You're probably like, wow, man, that hit me over the head. But it's true. If you're afraid that everything stops without you, I guarantee you've got a system problem. You have not spent the time to build systems because everything's dependent upon you. And listen, I see this all the time with small business people. It's very common situation. But Brad, you want to get around that? I've got some great ideas for you. Number 1 thing, use what I call the Monday morning stand-ups. Set team priorities before your CEO day. Pull your team together. Maybe you do a Monday morning meeting. Don't do your CEO day the same day. Maybe on Monday morning you say, okay, here's what we got going on. Maybe you do your CEO day Friday of the prior week, and then Monday you're ready to roll. You put your action plan together. You know who needs to do what. You've got that plan for this week. But do that Monday morning stand up to charge up your team. Set the priorities so that they know what to expect during the week. And then you won't feel so bad about not being around when you're doing your CEO day. Here's another great idea. Assign a point captain. What I mean by this is someone who filters the questions that only comes to you in true emergencies, kind of like we talked about earlier. Find that person that is the go-to person. Maybe in your organization, you've got a manager or you've got a foreman or a team leader. That's the person that everybody else can communicate with during that CEO time. And they only come to you with true emergencies. But guess what, Brad? You're going to have to train them on what that looks like. As we talked about earlier, make a list of here's the emergencies that I need to be interrupted for. Here's another great idea. Create a weekly scoreboard. Yeah, I said a scoreboard. Let the team track their wins and progress because I think this is the issue. I think your team feels like they don't have any autonomy. They don't have any direction. So build that scorecard. Let them see their wins. Let them see their progress. Is another great idea. I'm going to throw a big word out there. Use some asynchronous tools. Now you're like, Ralph, you just lost me with that. It's late in the day. What are you talking about? Asynchronous things like this. Use Slack or Loom videos or a shared dashboard so you don't have to be in constant meetings all the time. It's a problem a lot of CEOs get stuck in. They go from meeting to meeting to, I remember when I was in the credit union, we used to have too many meetings. I was like, this is insane. Every day I spend after meeting, but a lot of times I was just sharing stuff that I could have shared with a quick 5-minute video or a dashboard of here's where things stand. Use that type of stuff. It's a fancy word called asynchronous tools, but you can record a quick Loom video. Hey, here's how you do this. We do this in our office now. When we bring a new staff member on, we have a whole list of Loom videos. Here's how you do this. Here's how you do that. Yes, it's an investment at the front end, but then you're not constantly repeating the same stuff over and over and over. Now, Brad, here's another idea, and this is going to make you mighty uncomfortable because I think you're a little bit of a control guy, and that's okay. But you got to teach your team to solve their own problems. I got a feeling you've set the tone here. You've said to your team, when something comes up, you need to come see me. Because I don't think you've given them the ability, or maybe you've not encouraged them to solve their own problems. But a CEO day is where you shift from managing to leading, because that's the big deal. So Brad, I think your CEO day is going to be about changing that mindset that you have and really working towards that shift from managing to leading. You got to start being the leader and not just the manager. You're kind of like the puppeteer right now. But I think you need to move past that if you really want to be effective. Who else needs their team to become more independent this year? I think this is a very common thing, by the way. So don't beat yourself up if you're in this situation. You got to understand something. Most business people are the leaders. They were the doers. They were the thinkers. They were the ones that out doing the work. And then as the business grew, they brought more people on. You may be one of those people yourself. You brought more people on, but now you've got to show them, you got to lead them instead of just, making them, managing them all around. Lead them. All right, let's move on to our fifth question for tonight. And this one comes to us from Sophia in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Now, that's not far from us. I'm going to tell you right now, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. It is super cold here right now in Delaware. I get up this morning. Now, on Tuesday mornings, I usually walk the dog. We've got a German Shepherd. Her name is Piper. Cool dog, but it was too cold to go outside this morning. It was 16 degrees Fahrenheit here this morning. Well, anyway, Lancaster, Pennsylvania is not too far from us. They just got a nice snowstorm up there. But here's what Sophia says. Sophia says, what if I sit down for my CEO day and I just stare at the page? What if I don't know where to start, Ralph? I get that. And Sophia, you're anxious. You're afraid of doing it wrong. You're afraid of wasting time. You're afraid of disappointing yourself. And I understand that. You've grown this business, you've built this business, and you're like, Ralph, this is really outside of my normal things. I'm stretching myself, Ralph. I don't want to waste time. I got a little bit of time to begin with, and I'm afraid I'm going to disappoint myself. And what if I don't do it right? And you are full of anxiousness. So, Sophia, here's how you break out of that. Number one thing, start with some gratitude. So when you go and do your CEO day, write down 3 wins from last week. I just know your personality, Sophia. Start there. Here's the 3 things that were really effective this week. Here's the 3 wins I had from last week. Because then again, you're going to start reinforcing, I can do this. I'm being successful. I'm not wasting time. I'm not disappointing myself. It's going to break up that anxiety, but it starts with having some gratitude for what did work. Once you do that, then name the 3 biggest problems. Because that's the kind of person you are. You're task oriented. I can tell that just by the quick question you gave me. Name the 3 biggest problems because clarity lives where honesty lives. Be honest with yourself. See, being honest with yourself is not beating yourself up. It's being honest. It's looking at the data and saying, here's what's really going on. But you got to be honest with yourself. Look at those 3 problems and then try to figure out how do we change those. Choose one victory to create this week. Don't try to solve all 3 of them. Maybe do one this week, one the following week, one the following. What I think you're going to find is that as you start to work through this problem every week, you're going to have less and less of those problems because you're going to start fixing systemic problems that I think are really causing that. But choose just one victory to create this week. Because what's going to happen, and this happens every single time, those little wins, those small wins are going to build momentum. And use the action sheet prompts. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. They'll give you some structure every single time. This way you can have a plan. Here's how we do it. And remember this, a lot of people don't understand this part. And I want to just park here for a second. You got to remember that silence is productive. We live in a world where the noise is coming at us from 12 directions all at once. And the truth be told, we bring it on ourselves most of the time. How many times have you just sat and thought, no music on, no YouTube video going on, no podcast you're listening to, nothing else, no distractions, just sitting there thinking. A lot of times I do that here on the farm. I get out and walk around. Leave the podcast, leave the ear pods just walk away from it. That thinking is work. That space that you're building there, that's strategy. But remember, silence is productive. That thinking is the work. I know a lot of times I say to people, I didn't accomplish a lot today, but man, I did a lot of thinking and it wore me out. So if you've ever stared at a blank page before, you're not the only one that's done that. And this is exactly why we built this Grit and Growth business community. See, leadership is lonely when you try to do it all alone. And that's why we built this community. Today, we're going to talk about CEO day templates. That's going to be in the community. Weekly action sheets. We're putting in full video archives, priority Q&A access, and a network of owners growing together. And as I mentioned earlier, you can join all of this. I don't want your money. I just want your attention. You can go to gritandgrowthbusiness.com/CEO day. Again, that's gritandgrowthbusiness.com/CEO day. And if you're watching tonight thinking, Ralph, this all sounds great, dude, but I need some help implementing this. And maybe for you, it's time to do some one-on-one group or one-on-one coaching or some group coaching. I help people do this. I help owners build sustainable leadership rhythms. I help them build those systems that reduce stress. We talked about systems earlier. I can help you build those. I have a 12-week coaching program that will help you do that. Help you build those clear priorities. I help you make confident decisions. And I help you grow a business without burning out. And if that's you, it's time for us to talk. You don't have to build this alone. All right, well, let's bring this home tonight. We said this at the beginning. 2026 is going to reward the owners who make time to think, not just the time to work. And the CEO day, I know I've said that 100 times. You're like, Ralph, if you say it one more time, I'm going to come through the screen and smack you. But it's important. This CEO day is how you lead with intention. We talked about this. We talked about how this needs to be changed in your organization. We talked about how chaos fills that unexpected space, that decision fatigue drains your leadership, and that growth requires focus, and focus requires margin and quiet time. And then we tackled those questions. We talked about that overwhelm, that guilt, that structure leading to your team and staring at a blank page. And in every answer I talked about tonight, the message was the same. And I want you to hear this, and I want you to hear this loud and clear. You deserve space to lead. Your business needs you to think, and your next level begins with clarity. So here's my challenge you for this week. I want you to pick your CEO day. Maybe you start with a half a day, that's fine, but pick it and protect it. Honor it, and start leading like the owner your business needs. Because remember this, grit builds growth and growth builds freedom. Now, I want to tell you, at the beginning, I talked about we're going to make a little change here to the show. We're going to take a few weeks off. It's the holiday time. It's Christmas time. We're not going away. Don't worry. But we will not have another live show until Tuesday, January the 6th at 7 p.m. Now, also what we're going to be doing, if you're not catching the show live, we've been releasing these every Tuesday. We're going to make a little change here. Starting this Friday, this show will be released every Friday. So when you hear a live show on Tuesday, that next Friday, the live show will be right there for you. And we've got some great ideas for ready in 2026. And guess what? Maybe even a few surprises for you. So if you've got content ideas or you want to be a guest on the show, we would love to bring you on the show. I can coach you on the show. You can tell me about what's working in your business, what you found, maybe the things that need help. I'd love to do that right here on the live show. So if you're interested, reach out. You can contact me. I'll put all that stuff in the show notes. So thank you for joining me. I'm Ralph E. Stepp Jr. This is Grit and Growth Business Live, and I'll see you next week. Now, of course, remember, like I said, no live show next week, but we'll be back on January the 6th, 2026. I'll be able to say see you next year, right? But 7 p.m. on January 6th. And don't forget, you can catch the releases every Friday from now till then. So have a nice evening and God bless you.
Thanks for joining us today on Grit and Growth Business, the show where real business owners find the clarity, courage, and confidence to build something that lasts. If this episode spoke to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's next. Remember, success isn't easy, and there are no shortcuts. But with grit, growth is possible. And when in doubt, just ask Ralph. This show is a production of Ask Ralph Media, supported by Saggio Accounting Plus. The content in this episode is based on information available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. are under no obligation to update it should circumstances change. Please understand, this episode is not intended to be financial, tax, or legal advice. Your unique situation deserves tailored guidance, so before making any decisions, consult with your trusted tax professional or attorney.